Welcome to the Connected Leaders Academy virtual conference designed to reshape your vision of transformation. As we navigate the evolving business landscape, our speakers will unveil innovative strategies to manage and initiate change. Prepare to adapt, innovate, and lead, ensuring your role as a catalyst in this transformative era.
Thank you so much for being here. I am Michelle Lee, and I am going to show you how to crack the code to success in your life and your business. And, we all on this call today are speaking English. However, we're all wired differently. We all have different values that drive us, that drive our decision making. So I want you to imagine a world where even though we were all different, we would all get along. We would have less conflict. Things would be easier, less stress. We would understand our family, friends better. We would build the strongest relationships that we could possibly build. Because let's face it, sales is about relationships. The most important thing in the world are how the people around you and you get along and are able to connect and communicate. Communication is not about me trying to, the person that's receiving the communication, to figure out how and what you're saying. It's up to you to communicate effectively in any situation so that everybody can be seen, heard, and understood. Everybody deserves to be seen, heard, and understood. You see, when I grew up, I came from a family who didn't understand me. I was never seen, heard, and understood. And believe it or not, when I was in kindergarten, it was the first time I ran away, because I didn't feel like anyone understood me. Yes, I only ran away to the backyard, but I was gone for hours. And that continued throughout my life. And I never understood why. Felt like I didn't belong. I felt like no one understood me. Until one day, I figured out and cracked the code. I was always in trouble. I was always causing chaos. And as I grew older, every relationship I struggled with. I spent a lot of time fighting, arguing with people, not understanding people. Although I thought I was really good with people. Because of my experience as a child, I wanted to be the best parent that I could possibly be. And I wanted to do everything differently. And yet, I blew it. I blew it as a parent. I blew it as a business owner. I blew it in life with my relationships, because life is too short to wait and spend all of your time arguing, disagreeing, and not getting along. Look what's happening in the world right now. Look at all the disconnection. Look at all the relationships that are falling apart because of disagreements. What if we were able to take the lens off of how we see the world and look at the world through lenses of how everyone else shows up as well as ourselves? Not changing who we are, just changing the way we see things. Do you think that would open you up to an entirely different world filled with less stress, less disagreements? How about sales? Do you think sales would be easier if you knew what was important to the person across from you? What they valued? You see, every single human has a code. It's a 4-digit code. Sherry Tree created this. She found this and she actually built it for sales. And that's how I fell into it. So remember, I was struggling in sales. Actually lost everything I owned and had to rebuild my life. And so I was looking for a shortcut, an easy button, something that was going to be able to get my business and skyrocket it in less time so that I could have the life I always wanted. And what I found was that it changed everything in my life. From the way I parented, to the way I showed up, to the way I communicated. And yes, the bonus was, it did skyrocket my business. It did give me this ability to have the life that I wanted. That's not how it always was. So I want to share with you today a way that you can truly connect with everyone around you, so that although we're all different, we can find a way to relate to understand instead of reacting. God made us beautifully. He created us in a way that we have the ability to tap into these different values when we need them. But there's a certain way we show up so that we can be the best version of ourselves and we can succeed and we can do these things in the world, because without all of these codes, you see, the world would be a completely different place. We wouldn't have the people, the technology, all of these different things that make us all special and that make this world special. So I'm going to take you on a journey through the different lenses of how these codes show up and what that even means. When I first found this, I realized, guess what? I'm not broken, because I felt broken my whole life. I realized it's just my wiring system. It's just how I show up based on what's important to me, what my values are. It's the language that I speak. And remember, I said, although we all speak English, why do you think there's disconnections and miscommunication? If we're all speaking the same language all the time, you would think we'd all get along all the time. We'd all be able to understand each other. However, that's not the case. So when you look at the world, we call it bank, and it's reverse engineered personality science. And the codes that we use, we have blueprint. Well, let's put the lens on of the blueprint. The blueprint lens is inside the box. They value things like stability, structure, systems, planning, processes. They follow the rules, the ones that are driving down the road following the speed limit. They want things that are predictable. They avoid risk. Remember my relationship that I told you about with my children? My oldest son, we couldn't communicate. His first code is blueprint. He wanted stability. He wanted to have a predictable life. He wanted me to follow the rules. You remember, I am not a rule follower. So the A in bank stands for action. Action, red like little firecrackers in your hands. They're the movers, the shakers, the millionaire makers. They don't follow the rules, they break them. They want fun and freedom and flexibility, spontaneity, action. Everything they do is fast. They drive fast, they act fast. They talk fast. They're loud. So when I would talk to my blueprint son, he thought I was yelling at him all the time. And of course, he had no stability in his life because I did everything on a whim. That's how I show up. That's what I do. When we look at the N in bank, they see the world through yellow lenses: nurturing, love, relationships, teamwork, authenticity, personal growth. Imagine the world without nurturing. How cold it would be. They love nonprofits. They love making this world a better place. And the K in bank, well, they aren't inside the box. They didn't blow it up like the actions. They certainly didn't recycle it like the nurturing. They engineered the box. And without the box, without them, there would be no box. They want data, logic, learning. They value things like research and development. They're the smartest person in the room. To the Ks. Then the key is, I told you, God made us beautifully. So we're all four of these wonderful different codes. So we have things that we value more than others. There's actually 24 different positions that these codes can show up in. So in the sales process, that's why it seems like sales is a numbers game. Mathematically, it is, unless you can crack the code. Because we show up with our own lens on. So I would show up, whether it was in my family life or in business, with my red lenses on. And I ran over my son for 18 years. He never had any stability. There was never any rules. I was always out just to have fun. In business, I ran over my prospects. I ran over everyone in my life. Nurturing is my second code. So I do care about people and I want to make the world a better place. And there's things that stress me out and that I stay away from, which is the rest of my code. All four of those positions matter. It's like, think of an ATM machine, or even better, a cryptex. When you put the right code in, you break open the cryptex and you get the secret, the the holy grail, right? It's when you have that match, when you first meet somebody, they're just like you. So the code's easy. You automatically have that know, like, and trust. You're like, you're my best friend. I want to hang out with you. Let's go have a beer. But when you put the wrong code in and it's not they aren't lining up with your values, you get that disconnect. So now you've entered the wrong code in the cryptex. And instead of breaking it open and getting the holy grail of connection, you end up breaking open a vial of vinegar. It's not only like you broke open the vial of vinegar, it's like you took the vinegar and you threw it in their eyes. And they can't get away from you fast enough. We've all had that experience. That was mine and my son's experience. That was our life for 18 years. I knew everything about him. Well, what I didn't know was how he was wired, what his bank code was. That unlocked the ability for us to connect. I didn't change who I was. He didn't change who he was. I just adapted to speak his language. He needed love differently. He needed communicated differently. When I would hug him, he would cringe. And I would say, what, you don't love me? What did I do wrong as a parent? Why don't you care about me? Who doesn't want to hug? People. Not everyone likes to be touched. He came from a different space than I did. He came from a different operating system of values than I did. So take that into the business world. You're meeting people and you have a minute to connect. And if I go into a meeting and I think they speak my language and they're wired just like me, I break open that vial of vinegar. I'm speaking English and they're speaking French. It doesn't matter how loud or slow I talk. They're never going to connect with me. They're never going to understand me. And that's what's happening in our world. People are coming from different perspectives. These lenses make you look at the world through different filters. So as we get older, our lenses get filled, they get cloudy. And we're only seeing life through these blinders of who we are. And why aren't people like, why don't they get us? Have you ever said, I feel like I'm talking to a wall? It's like you're speaking a foreign language. You are. Meeting people where they are and understanding how they see the world, what they value, is the key to unlock communication. It's the key to unlock humanity. My mission in life is to connect and empower humanity, to truly make people matter, so that every single human in this world is seen, heard, and understood. Remember, I told you I came into this for sales. This system was built for sales. It's the only methodology in the world, scientifically validated, to predict buying behavior and buy-in behavior in less than 90 seconds. But what happened was it morphed into this mission because people were coming back saying, yes, my sales are off the chart. I've never had a record like this. But it saved my relationship with my son. It saved my relationship with my husband. This did save my relationship with my son, because what I didn't tell you is that before I found bank, just as I was starting to go through the coaching program that we have, he had come home from college and I was so excited to see him. I hadn't seen him for months. And he was here not even a week. We got into the biggest fight of our life. And he wanted to go back to school. Broke my heart. I didn't understand. But God has an amazing way of showing up in your life. And he had gone out for the day. And that was when I started to learn about the different codes. He walked in the door and I said, I am so sorry. I have done it wrong for 18 years. He said, what are you talking about? What do you mean? And I lined up our codes. I had him crack his code. And guess what? From start to finish, all four were complete opposites. So everything I did in my life, I was trying not to be like my parents, to be that mom that was able to see, hear, and understand her kids and show up as the best mom that I could be. And I blew it. And within seconds, I was able to understand why and how to fix it. When you take that and you apply it to your life, which is what I did, I said, I need to get certified in this methodology. I need to master the skills of people. That's the success in life. You all have a message to share. You all have something that can change someone's life. So how do you make a bigger impact? How do you reach more people? Bank is, I believe that bank is the one thing in this world that can change the world. It's one idea that can change the world. One world, one language. Everyone has a bank code. And when you're able to crack that code, you can become the best human that you can be. You can really make an impact in the world, share your message to the masses, have more influence, impact, and yes, income. Because with more money, we can help more people. When you're able to take your lens off and you're able to look at the world and see how other people need you to love them, to communicate with them, it changes everything. Remember I told you how those 4 codes, all of them are important? I want to share with you what each of those positions mean. The first code is your dominant code, how you show up in the world. The second one plays a huge role of who you are, who you aspire to be. The third position typically represents you under stress. And the fourth position is typically what you stay away from. So when you look at that, you've unlocked the way that person needs to be communicated and met where they are 100% of the time. Imagine what the world would look like if we could all get along. If we could all look at the people around us, say, yeah, they see the world differently. That's okay. I want to see what they see. What would the world look like? What if we could love more and judge less? Imagine what your life at home would look like if you finally understood all those little things that bother you. It's the little things, right? How my son would show up and he'd be angry at me because I was always late. To him, I lied to him every day, every time we left the house. Or how I would think I was doing a good thing and I would show up unexpectedly at school and take him to the toy store. And I was the mom riding around on the little bike, shooting hoops, pushing all the buttons, doing all the things, right? Having a blast. My youngest son loved it. My oldest was in tears. I chalked it up to he's tired, he's hungry. Yeah. Well, guess what? His first code, blueprint. Rules, stability, structure, systems, predictability. Do you think I ran over his core values before we even left the schoolyard? Second code is knowledge. Everything had to make sense. He needed to know the facts. He needed time to think about it, process it. Third code, nurturing. What did I say? Stress, right? Break down into tears. So he went from his head to his heart. And he didn't know how to adjust to that. He didn't understand it. His last code is action. That's what he stayed away from. And that's how I showed up every day. Imagine what your business would look like if in less than 90 seconds, you could crack the code and understand what your prospect or your client valued and what they needed. Do you think you'd be able to help them more? And what if at home you understood what everyone needed 100% of the time so that you could connect, communicate, and love more? It'd be a pretty good world, wouldn't it? My goal for you, what I challenge you today, is I challenge you to take off those lenses that you're wearing that might be a little cloudy and put on the lenses of bank and see the world in a whole new light. I challenge you to love more and judge less. And I want you to think about those different codes that I talked about. And maybe there was a conversation somewhere in your life that didn't go the way you wanted it to. Do you think maybe they were coming from a different perspective, a different bank code? How could you have come at that a little different? Maybe looked at it from a different perspective. So that's my challenge for you today. When you can crack the code, you can connect and empower humanity. And my goal and my mission in life is to make this world a better place and give you the tools and training you need so that you can succeed and flourish. Because me and my son have the best relationship we've ever had. My business is amazing. And if it weren't for the fact that I found the secret to truly understanding and connecting, I would not be where I am today. Michelle Lee here. I want you to go out there and see the world through the lenses of bank. God bless.
Thank you for participating in today's enlightening session. As we transition to our next expert, remember that each strategy and insight is a step toward becoming a transformative leader in your field. Visit connectedleadersacademy.com to stay engaged and informed. The journey of change is ongoing. Let's move forward together.